sort of double click on what you said, right? You're doing this, the training is sort of your win, and that's in your control. And you have spoken, in even in public settings about, mental health was a key reason to taking on this challenge. And I think what you've been talking about sort of goes towards that point, right? And so, uh, in the world of films, we as outsiders know it's a pretty weird world. Okay. Most of us only get to see the end result, but I think now, because of general media, we are aware that it's not the most pleasant place to be. Uh, can you just talk about, how all of that fits together with this whole mental health challenges?
So I feel I started modeling and acting when I was 18, 17 years old. And I feel 17 is a very young age to be exposed to the big bad world of Bollywood. But that's when you start because, well, you start young in the film industry. So you are judged on every single thing. You're judged on if you don't have, if your DNA doesn't have star parents, then you're judged on pretty much the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you look, the way you sit, stand, every single thing you're judged on. And it's very brutal. Like as a 17, 18-year-old, I was asked to do lip jobs and nose jobs, and it's very physically you're judged. And then certain people choose to do stuff to their face, certain people don't, which is a very personal choice. And then you are rejected every single day when you go and do auditions day in and day out. Sometimes you have films that release and the films are rejected because the audience doesn't want to watch that at that point, or there is COVID. It doesn't. There's so many factors in the film industry. So as an actor, you are really constantly, and then in social media, in the public setting, everyone has to put on this pretense of everything being so lovely and glamorous in the film industry, when in reality I feel 90% of the people in the film industry suffer from mental health issues, because at every level you are judged, at every level you're publicly judged. It's not that you're judged in an office of 100 people or 150 people. You're publicly judged at a very young age. So for me, I knew this from a very young age, fortunately, because of my sport. Because my sport was always the backbone of my existence, I always fell back to it whenever I felt like I can't take, the world. I used to go back to my sport. So I did my first debut film was directed by a director called Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra. It was a big launch of Anil Kapoor's son, and it was like very talked about. And the film failed after 2 years. It did very badly at the box office. I was 23 years old when it released, and I didn't realize the implications of a box office failure when I was that young. So I ran a marathon because that was my way of dealing with failure. So for me, every time I'm pushed against the wall, I will go and do endurance sport, because with every mile you run, your thoughts start getting lighter, and
Mm.
you can't run away from yourself, because when you're running 5 hours or you're doing an Ironman, which is 8 hours, 16 hours, you are stuck within your own thoughts. You can't use the crutch of AirPods and music, which used to be my crutch when I used to do long distance. But in Ironman, you can't use it as a rule. So you're stuck with your own thoughts. And with every passing kilometer, you start clearing out your mind. So for me, it was very therapeutic to do endurance sport, because it was just a way of clearing my mind, and it just made me feel like a much better person once I had trained or once I'd finished that particular task that I'd set out for me. And I feel, again, I keep talking about training. I'm harping on that more than the race day, because races are not that important. I do it because I set that as a goal for myself so I can work towards it. But it's about showing up every day.
Right.
So for me, if I can show up every day, I feel I'm successful. You
Yeah.
can't really, again, I feel this has been spoken by many top athletes that motivation is very overrated. And I understand why they say it, because I feel motivation is like the Wi-Fi in my Nasik house, because when you need it the most, it will be down. So there is no point of motivation, because you have to just be extremely boring and consistent. Do the same thing every day. It's just about consistency.
Yeah. And I think that's such an amazing point, that consistency is not, this I have to do exact amount of time every day. It is showing up. right? And this
Absolutely.
showing up is such an important thing, because once, like, in this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear,
Yes.
he keeps talking about the fact, step one, just wear your shoes, right? Your running
Yes.
shoes. And once you put it on, okay, that'll make you go, walk for 2 minutes or run for 2 minutes. And once you do 2 minutes, you'll do three. But if you don't show up because you only want to do it when you can do 20 minutes,
Hmm.
it won't happen.